Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video will be about first part of the PPL training, so I will talk about the beginning in the school and experiences from my first flights. So fasten your seatbelts and let's get started. At the beginning, I would like to talk about the ground school, because before you are going to fly, you have to get through the 2 weeks of the ground school. Every single day you have different instructors, and you are getting through the subjects of PPL. PPL subjects are, for example, navigation, communication, operational procedures, meteorology, etc. etc. There are 9 of them. We were in the school from the morning till evening every day for 2 weeks, and instructors tried to describe us the main topics of every PPL subject, but honestly I would say that it's mainly about self-study, because they can't learn you everything. You have to study at home a lot. After finishing the ground school, we had the 1 week for self-study, so I mainly studied theory books and question banks, because after this week you have internal test in the school. You have to pass the let's say unofficial exams, but it looks like official ones in CAA. And when we passed that successfully, we got the CCC. It's some internal certificate of the school, which confirms that you passed it and you are ready to pass the exam in CAA in Warsaw, in official exam. After this test and getting the certificate, I had to pass the aircraft knowledge test. It's let's say internal test as well in our school, and you are proving with this test that you know some basic information about the plane you will fly, and they simply secure ourselves with this test, because they want to be sure that you know something about the plane. There are topics like how much oil you need, what's the speed of rotation, what's the stall speed of the plane, and etc. etc. It may look that it's really difficult to learn a lot of stuff before you are going to fly for the first time, but it's not. Honestly, it's not difficult, because once you will start to fly and once you will start to use it in plane, it will start to make sense, and you will finally feel like you know something about flying. I passed the internal PPL exams and got the certificate. I passed my aircraft knowledge test, and I got finally contacted from my instructor, and we arranged my first flight. It was really good feeling, because after a lot of stuff to study, after ground school and all of these exams, I finally got arranged my first flight with instructor, so I couldn't wait for that. I'd say that the first flight is a more familiarization flight to get first contact with the plane. So your instructor is showing you everything, the before flight preparation, and before flight plane inspection, and so on. So after a couple of minutes of that, we finally got to the plane, so it was an amazing feeling for me. But I was a bit stressed with that and scared as well, because of course I flew with the plane before, but you know, it was a flight training and it was my first flight, so I felt a bit stressed about that. So my instructor of course showed me everything, the checklist, the starting of the plane, taxiing, and then we finally took off, and the first takeoff was a bit stressing for me. Honestly, I was a bit stressed about that, especially because it was the beginning of the summer, and in the summer you have a lot of airflows and wind gusts. So the plane wasn't so stable when we took off. But after a few minutes of flight, I got used to that. The instructor was really chilled, he showed me everything. So the stress was off, and I was able to focus on flying. He showed me some basic maneuvers and controlling the airplane. For the first few flights we flew to training area, 2000 feet, and we did basic maneuvers, maintaining flight level, turning, descending, climbing, and 30 degrees bank, and this type of maneuvers, so it was nothing special, nothing difficult. But after 2 flights we flew to the training area as well, but to train more advanced maneuvers, and it was a bit scary for me because we did really interesting maneuvers. I took the plane there. I have really nice plane there. Only me and 7 years old child have these planes, but I love it. So I will show you on this plane model what we did in this training area. Because as you know, you have to be confident with your plane, you have to know how to behave in emergency situation or in some difficult maneuvers or advanced maneuvers. So your instructors have tasks to show you and learn you, teach you how to behave during these maneuvers. So we did it. First of these maneuvers, let's say more difficult or advanced, is 45 degrees bank. So you are maintaining 45 and you are turning. It doesn't look so difficult, but believe me, in the air and in the plane, it's you have to train it a bit. So we did 45 degrees bank turning to the left, to the right. So it's not so scary maneuver or difficult one. You have to just train that. But after that, we did stall, and honestly, for those who don't like a roller coaster or something like that, as I don't like, it was a disaster first few stalls, because my instructor showed me that just slightly and I will show and so on. I said okay, but at the beginning I would like to describe what is stall. The plane is flying because it has a lift on the wing. But what will happen when you will lose the lift and the wing is not producing enough lift to maintain the airplane in the air? When you are losing the lift and the airplane is not able to fly anymore, it causes stall. It means when you are flying and you are losing, for example, the power, when you are normally flying, probably you will not experience the stall, but you have to know what to do when you will experience that. So we did. So when you are training this maneuver, you will basically put the power on idle, so you have zero thrust, and you are pulling the stick a bit, so the airplane is doing this motion, and you are losing the lift on your wings. So the stall is this one, and you have to know what to do when the stall occurs. So the basic maneuver is when you are pulling the plane and you are losing the lift on your wings, you are pushing the stick down and putting the full thrust, full power to get the airspeed again and lift on your wings. We trained stalls a lot in different configurations. We did it with zero flaps, we did with takeoff flaps, with full flaps, but generally it looked all the time the same. You put the idle speed or zero power, and then you are pulling the stick a bit, so the airplane did this motion, losing the airspeed, and then starting the stall. So you have to push the stick to get the airspeed again, put full power, and get the lift on your wings again. First few stalls were a bit scary for me, but I got used to that after a few maneuvers, and then we started to do even more advanced maneuvers. What does it mean? We did even more advanced maneuvers, like more than stalls. Yes, you have to do even wing drop stall, for example. It means that you are losing the lift only on one wing. And how does the wing drop stall look? I will show you. When you are flying, you are putting the idle, it's the same like in normal stall, but you're turning a bit, and on one wing you are losing the lift earlier than on other one. So it looks like this, you are losing, and this one, and you have to put the rudder to the opposite direction and get the airspeed again. Then we did another one, maneuvers, for example, slow flight and the beginning of the spin. But let's finish with the maneuvers. We also trained forced landing, emergency landing, and we started with traffic patterns at the airport. After 5 or 6 flights, my instructor had a car accident, so unfortunately I got a different instructor. And it's really good because in our school we have different instructors from different countries, different continents, and it's really good because everyone has different attitudes to you. So someone is more chilled, someone is more pushing you, and it's really good because you can try cooperation in cockpit with different people. And my new instructor was demanding from the very beginning, and I flew under a small pressure. But when I looked back right now, it helped me a lot. I learned a lot because of that. We flew to the training area and trained the maneuvers again with him. And then we started the IFR training. It means that you are wearing some special glasses. I will show you the picture because it's really funny how I looked. And it's special glasses because you have covered everything and you can just see on your instruments. It's an instrument training, so you can see outside. You cannot compare the computers or instruments with the terrain, and you are just flying under the instruments. So we normally started, we did normal procedures, and in the air he gave me these special glasses for a few flights. And we did normal procedures, radio procedures, basic maneuvers, and even advanced maneuvers with these glasses. It was very funny, this part of the training, and scary a bit as well, because when I flew with these glasses, he said me, close your eyes, I will take a control of the plane for a bit. So I closed eyes, I wait a bit, and the plane, for example, was in this position, or for example this one, and I opened the eyes and I had to react in a few seconds or milliseconds, and I had to know what to do in this situation. So it was the part of the training as well, and sometimes it was really funny. I flew with this different instructor 5 or 6 flights. We did mainly this IFR training, and we did some maneuvers as well in the training area, as I said, and we started the traffic patterns. The traffic patterns mean that you are flying at the airport all the time, and you are just circling. So you are landing, taking off, all the time. It can sound as a boring part of the training, but believe me, it's not. I found it very exciting because you are training approaches, landings, takeoffs, and even circling, maintaining the flight level, and the communication, because we are flying, we are training at the controlled aerodrome, controlled airport, and we are communicating with the tower all the time. So we trained that a lot, and honestly, from the beginning, I had a biggest problem mainly with communication. It wasn't controlling the airplane or something like that, but it was communication. Because I didn't have a problem with listening and understanding what they are saying me, but the biggest problem was read back. Because when tower is calling you and saying you some information, passing you some commands or infos, you have to read back everything to confirm then that you understand. And very often it's a lot of information during a short time. You have to process it in a few seconds and repeat that back. And believe me, at the beginning of the flight training, the communication is difficult. I had to train it on the ground and even in the air to start to be confident with that and maintain a proper communication. But it's just about the practice, so I started to get better every single flight, and now I feel pretty confident with the communication, and I really enjoy to communicate during the flight. After a couple of flights with different instructor, my previous instructor came back and we started to do another task and fly together again. After the training the maneuvers and this EFR flying with special glasses, I had my first check ride. Check ride means that you are flying with different instructor and he's checking your knowledge and skills what you learned in the training so far. I passed this check ride flight without any problem and I continued with my instructor in next tasks. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any other questions about the PPL training or any other aviation questions, let me know in the comment section. In the upcoming video I will talk about the second part of the PPL training. Thank you so much for your time. Make sure to subscribe my channel and follow my Instagram account for more aviation content from a pilot training, and have a nice day. See you next week, guys.